Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and this is the brand new LEGO Space collectible minifigure series that will launch on May 1st, 2024. Now, I actually got really lucky because my buddy Paul was actually able to find these early, and he rush shipped them over to me so I could actually have an early showcase for all of you and get the minifigures a few days before their release, which is super exciting. Now, this has been one of my personal most anticipated new releases out of anything LEGO this year. When I grew up, I was a big fan of LEGO Space. In fact, it was pretty much my favorite sub-theme that LEGO was doing, and this is really exciting because you actually get Redux minifigures of some of my favorite LEGO classic space sub-themes. You have an Ice Planet minifigure, an M-Tron figure, a Blacktron one, and even some of the more modern stuff like a Galaxy Squad Bugoid there, and of course, you do have a ton of just standard retro space goodies as well, including a lot of classic inspired types of retro spacemen and a whole lot of different things in between. This is a really solid sci-fi series that I'm really excited to dive into, but of course, it's time to unbox what minifigures I got, and stay tuned because linked in the timestamp below is the full review of all the minifigures together, but let's unbox all the boxes right now. Here we have a box full of the new Space collectible minifigures, which come out May 1st. Again, huge shout out to my friend Paul, who actually was able to find these early in Chicago and just mail them directly to me. So thank you so much for doing this. My actual local LEGO store has a limit for purchasing these. You can only buy 4 per person, so I was actually quite worried about how I was going to get a ton of these, but now I'm so excited to actually go ahead and open up all of these packs. Now, he did check, and there should be at least a full series in here, and I believe a couple duplicates of the ones that I want. But you know what? I'm just going to open up every single one right now, and the rest of them will just go up on auction when I run my auction on May 5th, because I'm just so excited to get these open, and I definitely want to get the complete set. So we'll do a quick overview of the figures as I open them up. Here is the female version of the retro space person, which is really cool because we did originally get the retro style of spaceman all the way back years ago for an earlier collectible minifigure series, but this is kind of the female version to go alongside that original one. Unfortunately, that ray gun element has since been discontinued, so this minifigure is just using the standard ray gun, but it is a really good looking figure. It's not one of the ones I was super excited for, but it is very nicely produced with dual molded legs, dual molded arms, and printing on the side of the arms and legs for those golden bands. There are 2 different expressions here as well, one that kind of has a confident smirk and the other that is smiling, and this is a really nice, what appears to be either dual or triple molded. Actually, that does look pretty triple molded to me. For the headpiece here, showcasing the blue, the pink, as well as the orange hair. And what's new for this series is that the tiles actually have this sparkly detail on them as well, which is very nice. And she does come with a robotic dog as well, which is really cool to get in these silver colors. That is a nice minifigure, and let's move on to the next one. Okay. Next up here, and again, the boxes are a little unfortunate because it is a little annoying to actually open them up, and obviously you don't know which is which unless you use the app to scan them, but this is super exciting because this is a realistic spaceman, and oh my goodness, there are actually quite a lot of pieces included here. This is a brand new element, which is a backpack piece meant to represent the actual more realistic style of spacesuits that you would see spacemen wearing, and I do really like how they actually have you build this up. So this is got quite a lot of good pieces. You have a camera piece on one side, a light on the other side. This just goes around the spaceman suit, which is quite similar actually to the spaceman that we got a few years back in another collectible minifig series. Love the printed arm with the classic space logo on it. That looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm very happy to get that. And this is actually a space woman, which you can see right here. Good printing on the back of the head. It is just using the standard dual molded headpiece, which we got all the way back in City 2019 space. But what's really cool is that this actually does have the additional arms for omnidirectional movement. This may be one of the highest number of pieces in any single collectible minifigure yet. I mean, this is a pretty crazy amount of pieces, especially if you do count the duplicates, that leftovers that you do get of these specialized printed components. But
it's very, very nice, and you can see that's what this minifigure looks like right here. You do get extras of the exclusive printed pieces for these smaller size ones in the set, so that's nice to see. And this is just another good one to add to the collection. Again, I am most excited about the Redux minifigures, but this is still a really, really nicely detailed one to get. Moving onwards from that, let's see what we've got here. Ooh, okay, so this is another good one. This is the UFO costume fan. Again, we're kind of keeping me in suspense here, waiting to get the best ones for last, but this is super interesting. Look at this drum lacquered silver component. Oh, Machas are going to go crazy with this. I'm sure that this is going to make for a very useful piece, and yeah, very interesting underside as well. So the way this works is you put it over here. It's a guy wearing a UFO costume, so the head is just kind of a green head, which is very nice. And then you can just slot this dome element on. Very interesting how they've done that. Super interesting setup, but yeah, again, the minifigure itself is not super crazy. It just has stars printed on the bodysuit here. So on the, oh, I like the Earth on the back there, Earth and Moon, that's nice. But stars on the front, stars on the legs. No printing on the sides of the legs or arms. I think that would have been nice, but not necessarily something we really needed. Again, this is just one of those standard costume minifigures that isn't one of the super exciting ones from the series for me, but is still a really nice one to get. Moving on from that, oh, this is a funny one. So this is a man being controlled by aliens in a suit. So this is another great one, and I do like how I've been getting individual ones, no duplicates yet so far here, but this actually does come with two different expressions, one which showcases kind of an uncanny smile, hinting that he may not be an actual human, and on the other side, you have an actual alien sitting in his brain, piloting the suit here. This is what I believe to be a new element. Yeah, I think this is a new piece, because it's a hair with a little tiny hole on top, which you can use to add in accessories, namely this brand new specialized silver remote control piece here. It does actually come with 3 of the special little green Martians, or little green aliens here, which is very nice. I guess one of them is meant to be a spare, but you know what? The more aliens, the better, and this is just another classic sci-fi trope of a man whose mind is not his own and is being controlled by actual aliens, or actually this isn't a man at all. This is a robotic suit that the aliens have made, but it's a very funny looking one, and I do quite like the design. Okay, let's see what we've got next here. Oh, this one is one of the ones I was really excited for. It's not a Redux one, but it is a super interesting type of minifigure, because this is pretty much supposed to be a metallic constellation and transparent purple glitter minifigure. This is the constellation Orion, and this is so interesting because they have used the transparent glitter purple elements to make up all of the components of the body here. So you've got the arms, the legs in this transparent glitter type of casting, which is super cool. I actually can't remember the last time we got a glitter component being used for a minifigure. Here is what the constellation satellite looks like, which is very nicely printed on the trans purple shield. And this is actually a new club piece that Orion can use. They didn't actually use the existing piece they have for clubs. They've made a new one, and I'm really curious to see if we'll actually get this piece in a more realistic color, like a dark brown or a reddish brown, because I feel like that'll be great for a caveman. But yeah, look at this beautiful looking minifigure, metallic printing. This is actually drum lacquered printing on the front and the back, not just silver. So it's super, super nice, very shiny, and one of the most unique designs that we got from this era of collectible minifigures. Setting that aside though, let's take a look at our next one here. Oh, and we actually have another copy of the Retro Space Woman, so let's build that really quick and move on. Now we have one more container right here, and that is another copy of the Moonwalking Space Woman, so let's build that really quick and move on. Alright, next pack here, is this gonna be a dupe? Oh yeah, another Retro Space Woman. Let's get this built and move on. Get our next container here. And this is another one of the Saucer Fan. Next container here is another spaceman, so let me build this guy really quick here. Will this next container be a duplicate, or will it be something new? Let's find out. And it is yet another one of the Space Costume Fan. Moving onwards. Ooh, finally something new and something I've been really excited for. So this one is one of the ones where honestly I have mixed feelings about it because this is a phenomenal minifigure, but I kind of wish they did a regular Blacktron 2 Redux Soldier. I understand why they didn't, because then the minifigure would not be super interesting or exciting. This one being a mutated Blacktron 2 Soldier is infinitely more interesting than what a non-mutated one would look like. But because of that, we have about half of what the perfect Blacktron 2 modern era soldier would be. And really, all you need is the other leg. Because the arms are plain, so that's fine. You can just replace this with another black arm, but it's this leg. You have one of the legs being the fawn legs, which is super cool to show it's mutated, but I just wish we had this printing on another leg, if they included another leg piece in there to allow you to make this into a standard Blacktron 2 soldier, because it is so good, and I feel like this is what a modern Blacktron 2 soldier would look like. Blacktron is my favorite Classic Space sub-theme after all. Just need that other leg, but who knows, maybe LEGO might do something different in the future. But if you want to see what the head looks like, you have kind of a fanged head on one side and then a normal head on the other, which is really cool, and I really love how this is kind of basically showcasing what a modern trooper would look like, just with mutations. Very cool how they were able to use the Rio Durant arm from Solo as well as the Stitch arm from the Disney series to actually have two extra arms on one side, which is very cool. And I can't wait to see what people will do. Maybe there's a way to make this a fully mutated version with a green head, and you can use another green arm on here. And yeah, just go crazy with it. Super cool to see this. But again, feels like you're getting half of two figures, and I don't know, it definitely is a very interesting thing for them to do, but I would love to see them actually make a standard version and a fully mutated version, because that would be super cool. As it is though, definitely one of my favorite torsos, and I absolutely will be using many copies of that torso to army build my own custom modernized Blacktron minifigures. Let's move on to the next container here and see what we get inside. Oh, this, yeah, alright, okay, so this is probably one of the ones I have been the most excited about, because this is the modern version of the Ice Planet Spaceman. So this is really cool because you got a new torso print, new leg print, kind of bringing Ice Planet to the modern age, and then you have this armor piece from Star Wars that goes over it, which is super cool to see. Here you have two different expressions on the head here, so that's really cool that you can actually have that option. It does include the option for hair if you do want to display it with hair, because of course this is the Ice Planet Babe, which we got all the way back when Ice Planet was first coming out, the redheaded girl, but they've made a brand new helmet piece for this Ice Planet figure, which looks so cool. My only complaint is I wish that this antenna was also orange. If they had dual molded it to make the antenna also transparent orange, that would have been super cool to see, but alas, not the case. Not a huge deal, but just would have been very nice, and unfortunately, transparent neon orange is now a discontinued LEGO color, so they've made this version with a transparent orange chainsaw, which is not quite the same, but the headcanon is that, and actually the designer of the minifigure did state that, well, you can imagine this is the powered off version, and the powered on version is when it becomes trans neon orange and starts to glow. It also does come with an Ice Planet penguin, which is adorable, and yeah, this is just an absolute winner of a figure. I just wish that trans neon orange wasn't discontinued. I do understand that LEGO has changed the way they actually produce transparent plastic, and it was impossible to actually use that color since they changed the type of plastic they use, but it would have been really cool to actually get it in trans neon orange. But alas, still a very cool figure, just one that feels like it came a little bit too late. Moving on from that, let's take a look at what's in this box. Ooh, oh nice, we have the Galaxy Squad Alien Bugoid. So this is actually a reference, or at least what I think is a reference, to LEGO Galaxy Squad because of the way the torso and legs are designed. Also using the fawn legs here, so I love the metallic blue printing, that looks super good. And they're using the ladybug wings as beetle wings back here with some nice kind of techno organic style of printing there. And this head is super cool because it's dual molded with trans purple and dark blue. So you place the head on, and this is an alien bugoid from Galaxy Squad. Maybe this is one of the higher ranking variations, and this fits right in with my other Galaxy Squad minifigures. Super cool to see this. I did see a post how the claws can grip a minifigure head, so now I'm very curious if that is the case. Ooh, that is nice. I don't think it actually grips it, but it does fit very nicely in between the claws if you want to, so that's quite funny. But yeah, another great figure. I always love it when LEGO does these references to older LEGO themes, and this is super cool to see as an Alien minifigure. Love the way that they actually... This almost feels like Alien, the movie Alien-esque, in the way it kind of reaches towards the back there. Really interesting design, and let's move on to the next figure. Ooh, another Blacktron soldier, but I did actually want duplicates of all of the classic retro Redux ones, so this is super nice to get, and I definitely will be adding this on because I want to display the specialized kind of remade version, so this is going to go next to my original Blacktron 2 soldiers and Blacktron 2 spacemen on my space wall, but it also will have a spot on my collectible minifigures wall, so it's really nice that I'm able to have an extra copy. Ooh, this is a new one, so this is quite funny. It's the Alien Tourist, and the idea behind this is it's supposed to be kind of an alien on tour with a camera and a backpack saying, "I love Earth," which is really funny. Really good dual molded arms, somewhat limited in their use because you do have a really nice Hawaiian shirt print on the back, but then the rest of the arms are gray, so not really much you can do with it. Maybe people could do like a zombie minifigure or something out of that, but it's a very cute figure, honestly. This one feels like one of the more lower budget minifigures of the series because it doesn't have any new molds, and the legs are just dual molded, which are nice to get the dual molding for the short legs, but nothing super crazy here, but just a nice other minifigure to add onto your collection. I feel like they maybe could have done something a bit more interesting with it by utilizing maybe a separate head mold, similar to what they did for, I believe it was Series 6 of the classic retro Alien, but this is still a nice one to get, and that headpiece is absolutely going to be useful for folks making Alien customs. Moving onwards from that, let's open up our next pack here. Ooh, this is another one because this is actually a robot minifigure, which is a nice design to get. So, ooh, this is super interesting. This is the way they did the legs on the robot. It's actually a brand new mold for the legs here. Almost feels like a very classic retro vintage style of thing. This almost feels like the similar type of grills that we would get on a profile brick, which is quite interesting. Nice arm printing as well for the side of the arms. That's going to be super useful for all sorts of different customs. And this is just a nice head as well. You can place the helmet on, and this is the transparent green Mysterio helmet, so that's cool to see that. Gold hands. Again, feels like more of a retro style of thing and design they're trying to come up with for a minifigure like this. But yeah, overall, cute minifigure. Not one of the ones I was, again, super hyped about because I was very excited for the retro space stuff, but this is still quite nice to see in general. All right, let's move on. Keep on opening up the packs here and see what else we've got. Ooh, nice. Another Ice Planet figure. I'm going to display this one with the helmet off, actually, so you got a bit of an alternate design for that. Now let's move on to the next box. I think at this point I've actually almost got the full series here, with a couple of minor ones, still missing the M-Tron figure, so excited for that, but I think this is the second to last figure I needed, which is the Alien Nurse. This is super interesting because they introduced printed transparent blue arms here. You have a nice new face as well with a charging port on the back, blue bob hair, and of course the pink space baby, which is just so adorable. Very, very cute little piece to get, finally in a new color as well, and it's just a really nice sci-fi design for a space nurse. You've got like the nurse style printing on the torso, nothing special for the legs just other than the front facing printing, but the arms are really nice, and I do like how they're able to print the arms there, so it overall is a really nice figure. Let's open up the next box here, see what we've got. Ooh, another copy of the beautiful Orion minifigure. This one is absolutely one that I wanted multiple copies of because it is just such a nice looking figure, and I'm very happy to get this one because I'm sure I'll be able to use the parts for other things in the future. Next box here, we have another alien bugoid. Very cool because I did want multiples of all of the specialized throwback minifigures. Next box, will this be the M-Tron figure? I guess we'll have to see. And no, this is another one of the Blacktron figures. Still very cool to get, because I did want to get as many of these guys as I could. But really hoping I get the M-Tron figure next, because that is the only one I'm still missing. Alright, 3 packs left. Moment of truth. Let's see what's in this one. Ooh, not M-Tron yet, so let's hope at least in one of those two, we do get the M-Tron figure. It's starting to get a little worrying, but you know what? We'll see what happens. Come on, M-Tron. Come on. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go. Oh, this is it. Oh, let's go. So this is the minifigure I'm probably the most excited about in the entire series. Well, maybe the Ice Planet one too. But of course, this is the M-Tron figure with beautiful, dual-molded, printed legs, looking absolutely phenomenal there to see that amount of printing on the dual-molded legs, which is super, super cool. You don't see that normally, so very nice to see this. And this introduces a brand new accessory as well. So the way this works is that you can actually place this backpack on, and before I do that, here's a look at the back printing on the minifigure itself. Very nice update to the classic M-Tron design, but we'll get the head on here. Super cool as well how the head has a printed visor on one end, because of course trans neon green is discontinued, so they at least did a semblance of a print there. Then you have a standard face on the back, but you can put this on. That's what that looks like, a black Nexonite helmet. And then, ooh, that's printed as well. I just noticed that. Printed 1x2 piece, very cool to see that. But this is new, because this is kind of a special, almost like an ammo belt style of thing that is rubberized, but it's a minifigure hand accessory. So you can place this in the hand of the figure, and that's what that looks like right here, and it acts as a specialized grabbing claw. Of course, this is a callback to some of the Spyrius and M-Tron prints that we would get back in the retro days of Space, so you can actually claw this up and pick it up like so. And on the other side, you have just an indicator right here. Super cool to see this figure, very, very happy with it. I am quite excited to get more of these and start to army build them. I absolutely want to get as many of these as I can. And overall, super cool minifigure, and I think it is the best out of this whole series so far. And now for the final pack, I do always like to keep one copy of the boxes intact, because I did keep all the bags previously. So we are going to go ahead and open this up pretty nicely here, because this is going to be the one I keep, and let's see what's inside. Ooh, okay. Another alien Bugoid. So that is everything. Very nice to get so many duplicates of these great minifigures. Really excited to see these in action and to be able to actually have them on my minifigure display wall. And now, let's take a look at the entire series at once. Alright, so here are all 12 of the brand new Series 26 collectible minifigure space figures, and one thing I really like is that you can kind of segment each of these into groups. You've got 4 of the original LEGO themed throwback figures here, you have 4 figures here that are definitely more retro styled, from the retro space woman to the almost Doctor Who inspired robot here, to the alien and alien tourist, and then you have 4 just kind of other minifigures that fit within a sci-fi vibe. You have a more realistic spaceman, you have 2 very out there science fantasy and science fiction concepts with the nurse droid as well as the Constellation, and then you have a guy dressed up in an alien suit, which kind of fits in with the realistic stuff. Of course, personally, I will fully admit my bias to be very much in favor of the ones that actually call back to original LEGO themes, but I do understand that not everybody has that same bias, and if LEGO filled up an entire space series with just retro throwback minifigures, I'm sure a lot of folks that are kind of the general public would be pretty confused as to what LEGO was really trying to go for. Because of that, I do feel like there is a pretty decent mix of stuff that is really just made for older fans of LEGO, for folks who do recognize and really appreciate the older themes. Stuff that is meant to evoke the classic style of vintage retro space when folks think of that old space age style stuff like the 1950s and even the before that era of really kind of being imaginative with space and what it could look like. And then you have a couple of just out there concepts and realistic things that just make for cool minifigures. Overall, the distribution of the series is pretty decent. If I had to rank the figures, Again, I'm biased here, but I do think the best one is the Mtron figure. The Ice Planet one is a close second to me, but the helmet just feels like it could have used a little bit more color, especially to call back to Ice Planet. And maybe my third favorite might actually be either the Bugoid or actually maybe it's Orion, which is pretty surprising. I didn't think that was going to be one of my favorites, but it is a very phenomenally detailed minifigure with some of the most transparent parts ever used on a single figure. Of course, the Blacktron 2 mutated alien monster is really great too, and then the rest of them just kind of follow suit. And this one, while being a more standard and realistic style spacesuit, is still really, really nice. I definitely do really appreciate the amount of detail they've got going on here. Now, I figured it actually might make sense to bring alongside some representative samples of minifigures that either directly inspired some of the characters here, or some of them that are more like loose homages to, but I thought it would be interesting to actually showcase some direct comparisons between, of course, the vintage stuff as well as the more modern Redux pieces, and for the Galaxy Squad Bugoid, I've just chosen a random one to represent it. And one thing I found really interesting is that the prints on the new Spaceman and the old one that we got for collectible minifigures are actually remarkably similar. There are very, very close similarities in the way that's done. And of course, I brought the male version of the retro Spacewoman right there to do some direct comparisons. So let's go into that right now. For direct comparisons, I am going to start off with the Ice Planet figure here because I do feel like this is the most apt comparison as to why I do feel that the modern one could be just improved a little bit more. I think to me one of the most iconic parts of Ice Planet, aside from the trans neon orange, which yes, I do understand LEGO cannot produce that color anymore because again they changed the type of transparent plastic they use, but the most prominent part to me was not even just the chainsaws, but the very orange visors. The entire visor, as you can see from the early minifigure, was actually trans neon orange. And I feel like that really helped break up the white and black color scheme in the blues to make it feel like it had a lot more going on. Unfortunately, for the new helmet here, which is, may I add, a very nice helmet, I think this is really good in terms of the molding, you only have a very, very small strip of orange being used for the visor. And yes, I do feel that maybe that is actually a little bit more realistic. I mean, realistic in a sci-fi space setting where you're dealing with guys running around wielding orange chainsaws after all. But if you look at it, I mean, I guess it makes sense that the only slit of light would be in the actual visor, but I do feel like that has messed with the color blocking of the actual minifigure itself, making the head feel almost too predominantly white in coloration as compared to the original figures. What I would have personally really loved is if they made a dual molded component, maybe with transparent orange as well as white, but even if they weren't going to dual mold it, just simply doing orange, or maybe the new orange color, just along the visor itself, and if not the visor, at least on the antenna as well. If they just were able to color that antenna there as orange, I think that would have done a lot in improving the overall look and feel of the figure, and I definitely would have appreciated that a lot more. But then again, it's not the biggest deal, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just something I do feel like could have been done a bit better. That was the first thing that stood out to me when I saw the Ice Planet figure was, dang, I wish there was more orange on the helmet. That being said, the face underneath is pretty good. I do like how they did create a new face. However, I think it would have been really cool to actually include the printed earrings as well. I feel like that was a very iconic feature of the original Ice Planet woman back in the early 90s when we actually got this as a minifigure. The hairpiece, though, does look pretty good on that old figure. I think that does work out quite nicely as the quote-unquote official hairpiece for that character, but I definitely just really feel like it could have used a bit more character. I feel like the earrings definitely were a very defining feature, and here it just feels like a more generic expression that could have come from any original theme. Maybe even just having like a sci-fi communicator or some sort of a radio transmission would have been cool. And in case you're curious, this is what the old helmet looks like on the new minifigure, which is actually pretty slick. I kind of like that a lot. Now that I've done this, I actually really like this. And here's what the new helmet looks like on the old figure, which also looks interesting, but again, I really do feel like it is missing that predominantly orange visor to change up the color blocking. So that's just how I feel, but overall, very cool to get this, and a big shame that LEGO can no longer make trans neon orange, but I do like how they've actually built up the whole chainsaw here by having the D snot piece that was introduced in Speed Champions being used in blue here for the underside of the chainsaw, the new handle piece that was introduced for, I believe, the Orient Express, as well as in the X-Men minifigure Beast. So very cool to see that, as opposed to just them holding the standard chainsaw. So there are a lot of improvements, and I do like the bulkier armor piece. All in all, the new figure feels like it came out of fan art. I've seen a lot of realistic fan art of Ice Planet figures that looks just like this, so I think it is overall a win, but just feel like it's not quite perfect for me. The next immediate comparison I want to draw is with the Bugoid here. So this is officially the Beetlezoid, which obviously they are calling back to the naming convention of all of these bugs. I believe this was the Mantizoid here, so basically this is, and they had Mosquitoids as well, so obviously this is just a new type of bug for them. I'm going to remove the accessories just so you can see the printing, and yeah, if it wasn't obvious before, this is directly inspired by Galaxy Squad to the point where it almost feels like they didn't even change anything from the original print. I guess they've added a few magenta spots on there, but they've literally just taken the print for the Beetlezoids here, and for the Beetlezoid, well, they took it from the Mantizoid, my apologies, and transplanted it onto the Beetlezoid, which is very interesting. It's very rare to see LEGO do just a one-to-one similar print, and they kind of did a similar thing on the back here, although they did a few different things on the back for this one, but yeah, super cool to get another variation of the aliens that will fit right into Galaxy Squad. I think this one is actually one of the creepier looking ones because the head is kind of shaped like the iconic alien head. It's got the transparent purple back of the brain, and then it has these kind of multiple sets of eyes here which fit right in with the other creatures. Just overall, very, very cool to see LEGO actually reference this. I never would have thought Galaxy Squad was going to be one of the themes referenced in the Space CMF series celebrating LEGO Space, but here it is, and it probably is the most accurate. Like, this feels like it fits right in with the originals, which is pretty crazy. Moving on from that, we'll take a look at the Blacktron one, and yes, I am saving some of the best ones for last here, but the Blacktron minifigure comparison is quite interesting because obviously you've taken the very simplified and stylized Blacktron logo that they did across a lot of these space figures. They would just put a giant logo on them and tried to make it feel a little bit more modernized, and I really do like that, how you have black upper armor to the torso and just some lines to indicate that this is actually armor, which I think is really cool. Would have been nice to include air tanks as well. I think that would have been a good inclusion for the character, but I do understand that it does have a rebreather here, so I guess it makes sense why it doesn't have that. But again, feels like this is a cool minifigure, and I love the mutated form. I just don't know, I kind of wish that LEGO would now release just a regular version of the figure. I don't know in what sense they would ever want to do that. I don't know if it makes sense for LEGO to ever just release a very slightly modified version of a collectible minifigure, but oh man, if they did a normal one, army building would be so much fun, but I will say it's a trade-off because the figure is now infinitely more interesting now that it actually has the mutated side, which is definitely a lot more going on than the regular Blacktron figure. Moving on from that, I want to do a brief comparison of the Space Man and Space Woman, where it actually feels like this is kind of a gender-swapped version of the original. If you look at the arm printing, it's actually pretty much identical to the original collectible minifigure, which is really surprising to me. I did not realize that when I was first doing it. They have made some minor updates to the leg printing, actually letting this light gray printed lines on top of the red bar here stretch along the side of the legs. Previously, it was just the red bar on the side of the legs. Of course, they have done back printing now. You can't even see it, but they have done the back printing on the figure. But they have also removed a lot of details as well. I feel like the early collectible minifigure was a lot more detailed because it had this belt on and it had these extra pouches on the spacesuit, which the newer one just doesn't have. But as you can see, these are clearly supposed to be from the same faction. Like, they definitely are the exact same minifigure, just slightly different. However, the new version is a lot more interesting because it does have this special backpack on that it's a brand new mold. Super cool to see that. And I love the facial print they've done to actually give it this very interesting, almost wearing the spacesuit style of head here. So that's a lot better compared to the original one. But yeah, very interesting how similar these are, right down to the coloration and the exact printing for the way this works and the actual chest plate. Really, really interesting just how these are so close. Moving on from that, we can take a look at the comparisons between the Retro Space Man and the Retro Space Woman here. And yep, as you can see, super similar printing here. You have the stripes on the side of the legs, which do continue onwards. Same dual molded components, arms and legs, and again, identical printing for the arms, just a slightly different color, but I do like how they did do a brand new mold for the headpiece here that isn't just the old one, because this one actually has the hair sticking out of the back as well, which is very nice, but they've basically taken the exact same aesthetic and transplanted it onto a different figure. Again, would have been nice to get that classic ray gun. I believe the last time it appeared in the set was in Killer Moth from the Lego Batman movie, which was 2017, so 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, means that mold would have been discontinued in 2022 because Lego destroys molds after 5 years of not being used, so I understand the mold's not around anymore, but I think it would have been cool to get that classic ray gun, although it is nice to get the golden one, which I don't think has appeared since like Series 3, the Alien. Could be wrong on that, but it's been a while since we've gotten this in gold, so it is still nice to see, but overall, very nice to actually have direct comparisons here, and I do like how they did do a print on the back here instead of just leaving the back unprinted, which was something Lego was doing for CMFs in this era of CMFs, and definitely something I'm very happy they improved on. But yep, cool to see two different styles of the same variety figure. And finally, moving on to my favorite minifigure, yep, it's time to take a look at the M-Tron figure. Only complaint with the M-Tron figure is I really wish that this black ammo belt style of thing was detachable from the red piece it's attached to. I think having this be two separate pieces would have made possibilities for this to be really infinite if they just had it plug into a tube, but maybe Lego was a little bit worried it looks too much like an ammo belt, which is why they constrained it to this grabber arm here. But yeah, here you can see the actual difference between the two minifigures. Again, trans neon green is no longer in production, so Lego just opted to print the head. Doesn't quite have the same vibrancy as the original, and if you're curious, this is what the visor looks like on that helmet, which I think really completes the look. You know, I feel like this is really the finalized version of the figure if Lego could just still produce that color of visor, but it's still very nice to get a special printed head. You know, they were going for something different here. Nice recolor of the Nexo Knights helmet in black as well. And I do feel like this is another really great modernization of that classic iconic piece, where you don't just have the logo, you basically do, but you also have a little bit of printing on the side, and of course, incredibly detailed printed and dual molded legs as well, just to make it feel that much more special. And the red boots do a lot in making this feel more modern to me, which is super, super cool. Overall, I think in terms of the minifigures, as I said, the M-Tron one is definitely my favorite. The new piece that they introduced, the new dual molded component with this flexible tube here is awesome. Getting the printed tile on the back is very cool as well, the printed plate, and especially this printed tile. Again, this is just a lot of retro space goodness, but there are so many good contenders for amazing minifigures in this series, like Orion here. Oh my goodness, so good. The way they've depicted this minifigure with transparent glitter components is phenomenal. Nice to get a new drum lacquered silver component for the alien saucer costume fan here, which is a nice print on the torso as well. I think that's just a really basic star print that also kind of extends down to the stands as well, which is very nice. The nurse droid is a good one to get, especially if you want to get multiples of the classic space babies. Nice printed transparent blue arms as well, so that's a really good one. And overall, I feel like pretty much every single figure in this series is a winner. Even the ones that are not super interesting to me, like the alien tourist here, they do have really nice printed arms, dual molded arms, and every single figure was clearly made with a lot of love and a lot of passion. I love this one. This one's so funny, how you actually have basically a mech. Like, this is just a mech suit being piloted by some aliens. There's a little port on the back where you can unscrew him so the aliens can climb in and drive him around, which is super funny. And just overall, lots of really interesting concepts. I like the level of detail on all the figures. Like this one, they did not need to do it, but it has printed arms and really does feel like a minifigure in a suit, really like getting that retro feel here. So very nice to see all sorts of different minifigures and minifigure components be introduced. And overall, definitely one of the strongest series we've gotten in a while. I only wish that we would get another Space CMF series so we could get even more figures. Where is the modern Robo-Riders figure? I would love to see a modern Insectoids figure. Imagine getting a modern Spyrius, and you know, the list goes on. So I think it would be really cool to get more stuff in the future for LEGO Space, especially fantastically produced minifigures like these ones. But overall, I hope you enjoyed our look at the brand new LEGO Space minifigure series. Definitely very cool that they actually are focusing on space as a passion point this year, allowing it to even have a collectible minifigure series of its own, which is very, very special. And that about sums up my review of these 12 minifigures. Hope you enjoyed.
Alright, with that, we have summed up my look at the brand new LEGO Collectible Minifigures Series 26, based on LEGO Space. Again, a really exciting series with a ton of absolutely phenomenal minifigures, but those have just been my thoughts, and let me know down in the comments which ones are your personal favorites and which ones are you the most excited to get when they launch on May 1st. Thanks all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye for now.